So I'm going to change my setup here from 4 5-gallon buckets to 2 reservoir tubs. I'm going to get a couple more of these from the store, and I'm going to use 2 plants instead of 4 in here. And the whole goal is, I just don't really like this 5 circle objects inside of a square. It doesn't really seem to fit right. When I'm trimming the leaves, it falls down behind the buckets, and they're hard to reach and hard to get to. So I figured 2 rectangular objects in here would fit a little bit better. It would look a little bit neater, and then when the leaves are cut, they would just fall down onto the tub lid, onto this orange or yellow lid. The lighting here is horrible. Let me turn this light on. Yeah. So these are that's my backup, or my first reservoir. That drains down into this one. This one's connected to this system here. So this lower one is the reservoir for the hydroponic system. And I just wanted to show how this is set up before I take it apart, because I see a lot of people make mistakes when they're setting it up and their water levels aren't the same. And there's a difference between, if you understand electronics, running parallel and series. So it's like in electronics when you're running parallel or in series. And this one, it goes, I'll let you know how it goes. It comes from the reservoir right here, and it comes into the system through this tube, this one tube, and it goes in there and it splits off into 4, and that 4 goes off into each of the corner tubs, and then from each of those corner tubs, the 4 tubs goes off into this other 4-way right here. And then from that 4-way, it returns into this bucket right there. And then it goes into here. This is the pumping system. And then it comes out of here, and it goes out to the reservoir, and that's how it completes the system. And then it goes into this water chiller, and then into the reservoir. And that's the complete system. But the whole reason of using these 4-ways is because if you run it from this bucket to that bucket to this bucket to that bucket, you're going to have this bucket that's full, and then you're going to have this bucket a little bit less, and you have this little bucket a little bit less, and then this bucket's only going to be half full of water. And it's because you pump this one full of water, and it's pumping full faster than it can drain out into this one. And then this one also is pumping full faster than it can drain in and refill this one. So that's why this one is lower, and then that one will be even lower. So I see a lot of people set their system up. You don't want to go from bucket to bucket to bucket to bucket to bucket. You got to go from 4-way to all the buckets, and then into the 4-way, and then back into this here, this center reservoir. I've never seen anybody use this. That's why I'm documenting this, because I've never seen anybody use this type of a system. And I kind of created it, and it works. And all the water levels are the same. Now the only water level that's going to be lower is this one right here, because this is the one that has the pump. So it pumps it out into the reservoir, which kind of fills the reservoir a couple of inches. It's because it fills faster than it can drain. I don't know, if you do it wrong, then I understand what I'm saying, but if you're running into that problem, this is what you need to do to fix it. Don't run from bucket to bucket to bucket. Use the 4-way, and then use this center one. And then I have a tiny little pump down there. It's only like a 1 gallon a minute or something. I don't know. It's the smallest one you can find on eBay for like $5 or something. And then I got this bigger pump in here, and that's for doing draining. And you can see that white elbow I put on there. That's so I can suck it off the bottom of the bucket, and I get every last drop out of it when I'm doing my water changes. And the little pump, the 1 gallon per hour one, is connected on the other side of this tube right here. and it's on the inside right there. And it's a real tiny one. I don't know if you can see it down there. But this one here, this big one, it goes over to here, and then it connects into this T right here. Oh, you can't see nothing around here. But anyways, there's a T here. And then it connects into this other T. And then I can use these on-off valves here. These things. And there's no light, so I can't show you, so I can't explain it to you, but you just have to take my word for it. That pump comes over here into this T, and then I can use it to pump the water out, because I'm in a basement, I can't just drain it out. And I pump it into the garden, so that way the garden gets to take advantage of the leftover nutrients. But that's how you set it up. This video ain't gonna make much sense to a lot of people unless you've already done it wrong and you can't figure out why your water levels aren't the same. But I'm tearing this down, and I'm doing a 2-tub system in here, and I think I like that better anyways. But for those that are running a system with 5-gallon buckets and you don't know why your water levels aren't the same, then this video is for you. Alright, so I'm doing a pump out so I can tear all this down. I gotta get all this water out of here, but I'm using this big pump in here, and I got some better light here so I can better show you how this is all plumbed up. So it comes out of this hole right here, and it goes back here through that, and then it comes here to this hose, and then it goes through this here. If I'm not using it, then I turn this off. But then it comes into this T right here, and then if I am using it, I got to turn that one off. See, that one's turned off right now because it's going across the direction of the flow. If it was turned and it was going this direction, it shows that it's open. See how this one's going in the same direction of the pipe, and that would be closed going, and that one's open. Okay, so the pump goes up into here, and it comes through into this pipe, and it goes through the cooler. And I designed it like this so that when I'm doing water changes, it will flush out the cooler with the higher pressure pump, because I use the high pressure pump to pump out and the low pressure pump just to circulate, because the high pressure pump will cause the water to warm up and the low pressure pump doesn't cause much heat. Okay, so back to it. It goes into this right here, goes into the T, comes in to the cooler, out of the cooler into this other T, which goes into this drain right here. So if I don't want it to continue going this way, I close it off, because that cuts off the circulation that goes back into the reservoir. I don't want to pump it into the reservoir, so I got to close this one off. I open this one, and I open this one. See, it's pumping in, this one's open, pumping out, this one's open. Don't want it to go to the reservoir, don't want it to circulate that way, so we turn that one off. Don't want it to go back that way, that goes back. This one here goes back into the internal reservoir, and you don't want it to pump it back into the system, because that's where the big pump and the little pump is. That's in the internal reservoir right here. So that's how it works. Pumps out of the internal reservoir through this into the T, flushes out the cooler, and then goes out here into my drain line, and then I pump it outside into the garden. So that's how it works. I'm gonna pump all this out, and I'm gonna take these buckets out, and then I'm gonna put these totes in there. I got 2 more totes from the store, same kind, and I cut the lids for it already. There's my net pots with the clay pellets. Here it was called Hydrotron. So that's that. Once I get all this water out, I'll start setting up the new tubs. I'll check back with you when it's all done. One more thing I wanted to show you, the secondary draining setup I have here. This is just a gravity feed drain, and in the basement here I got a low threshold tub, so it doesn't have to climb very high. So it can be just gravity fed drain. And depending on what you got in your house, you can use this same setup here. But I hooked up this drain tube to this is the tube that you can see how full your water level is. When it's clean, you can see through it, but I can see the line right here. You just kind of move it around and you can see it move on up and down. And that's where you tell the water level. But if you want to drain it out, you just turn this sideways, lay that down like that, and then it'll just drain on out. So that'll help speed it up. I got the pump going, and this is just tap water, so I'm just gonna drain this one out in the shower. I'm wasting the water, but there's no nutrients in it, it's just tap water. If I don't use this double drain method, it's gonna take at least an hour to drain out the 30 or so gallons. I haven't really calculated yet. I think it's about 30 gallons this setup is. So it takes at least an hour to drain it all out, even though I got this big pump in here. And I got to drain out every last drop. So I got to make sure it's very completely drained. And this is a big pump, and I put this little PVC thing on there so it'll elbow down and suck off the bottom, and it'll get anything that's settles to the bottom, and also gets every last drop out. So there's just a couple of ideas if anybody needs any ideas for their hydro setup for draining. And I'll check in later. Alright, I just want to make a quick video here. I'm drilling out the holes here into the tub for my new hydro setup. And just wanted to show you the size of drill bit that you need. This is a hole saw. It says 3/4 and it says 19 millimeters. I don't know if you can see that on camera or not, but that's the size. It's 3/4 or it's 19 millimeters, depending on if you want to go metric or standard. And it's got these real rough burrs right here, and you need to clean that off. Where's my camera at? Oh, there we go. These rough burrs right here, you got to clean that off, or else it will leak, I promise you. So peel it off what you can, like I am right here, and then anything loose, you need to scrape it carefully. Don't gouge it with a razor blade. This is a dull knife. This would probably work really good just to kind of clean those off. But when I get two hands, I'll do that a little bit better. Hard to do it with one hand, but see, these are real rough. You don't want to have none of that on there. And then these holes here will fit a grommet, and I don't know what size of the grommet it is, but it's for 1/2 inch. You're just gonna have to go to Ace and figure it out. They're real helpful with Ace. I like Ace. And these holes are going to be for the 1/2 inch black tubing. So it's the grommet size. I just don't know. You have a 1/2 inch black tubing, and then you have the 3/4. What else did I say? 3/4 19 millimeter hole saw, and then clean these up. And then that grommet is kind of tight getting it in there, but you gotta make sure you clean up all those edges, and then it'll work just fine. And I'll check in with you later. Alright, well, I'm finished setting it up. Still using the internal reservoir. This helps regulate the water the water levels inside of the bucket, tubs, whatever you call it. Tubs, that's what they call it. So this will help regulate the water levels into the tubs. And it has a little pump in there, and it pumps it from out there, out of that tube, and it goes up into there. And it goes into the water cooler, out of the water cooler, into the reservoir. This is the external reservoir. And it has my readings here, my pH, my temperature, my parts per million. I'm just filling it with water right now. I don't have any nutrients or pH buffers in there. And then this is my backup reservoir. So I'm filling this right now. It's got a water stopper here. When it fills up too far, then it'll turn itself off. And then right here, you can't see because there's no light. So that right there goes down and into the other tub. So if I open that, it'll fill up the other one. If I close it, then this will just fill up over here. So when that's filled up, then I can open and close that as necessary to top off the secondary reservoir. And then this other one right here, this goes down here into this jug. I can take water samples, or I can water my soil plants, and that's a way of getting water out of the tub without having to dunk my hands in the jug and taking the lid off and whatnot. I just turn that knob right there, it fills up the jug, turn the knob off, then I go water and whatnot wherever I need. So, alright, where was I? It goes from the reservoir, or the water cooler, into the reservoir, and then from the reservoir back out of there. The water, there's nothing leaking, it's just because I was just fresh working on stuff here. But yeah, but it comes out of the reservoir and then back up into here. So it's coming from the reservoir back in on this tube right here, and it goes back behind the internal reservoir, and it comes over here to this T, and then from that T it feeds into that tub, not reservoir, and then all the way back over into this tub over here. So I think that's the only thing I want to change is this. I want to move this over onto this side with everything else, so that this has just an empty spot right here. I can put another plant, put a soil plant or something right there. And then from there it goes back into the reservoirs, and then from the, or not the reservoirs, the tubs, and then from the tubs it goes right here into this T, and it goes right back into this internal reservoir, and then that completes the circulation. A little bit complicated to explain, but to see it, hopefully you can understand it a little bit better. But the purpose of this right here is to regulate the water levels in the tub, and it pumps it out into the reservoir, and then the reservoir kind of just bleeds back into these two. It doesn't pump into it where it has to go from this one to this one to this one like in a big circle, because it pumps into this one and it fills this one up faster than it's draining into this one. And then this one's kind of filling up faster than it's draining into this one. So as you go down in the circle towards the end, your water levels are getting lower and lower and lower. So that's what this internal reservoir fixes, is your water levels. And also I have this other pump in here. I didn't explain that. This third tube coming out. This goes all the way over into here. And then it goes into this T here. Into that T. And then it goes through these tubes are kind of wound up and stuff. I only got two hands here, so I can't unwind them and show you and hold a camera and a flashlight. So it is what it is. But then it goes into that T, and then it comes out into this spigot right here with the blue knob, and I can put a tube on the end of that and then drain it out into the garden. So that's what this second pump is for in here, a bigger pump. There's two pumps in here. There's one to drain it and there's one to circulate it. The small one's for the circulation, the big one's to drain it. I don't use the big one to circulate it because it builds up heat into the water and like the water temperature down. So that's it. I'm all finished. I'm just waiting for the water to fill up. And then I got this switch right here. And that's on the extension cord that's plugged into the little mini pump in there and the water chiller. So when I want to do a water change, I just turn that switch off. I turn off a couple water knobs, and I plug that one in, and I'm pumping it out. It sounds complicated, but it's hydro. This is different than soil. Try and follow along. If you have any questions, comments below, feel free. I always like to answer comments. Let me know what you think. Today is 6/30/2021. This is my feeding schedule here. I just started up the brand new grow, 60-gallon tub grow with the 2 hydro plants. And it's not a very scientific calculation there, but that's what I came up with. So there's everything kind of cluttered. This is my hooch brew and stuff. I'm gonna pump some CO2 into the tent so that I got some CO2 when they're budding. So I got the hooch kit for that. That's what all that mess is. This is my first reserve tank, and I put the tap water in there, and it's got a bubbler in here, and it helps bubble and air out the chlorine, so it makes it chlorine safe before it goes down into here. I just turn this knob here and it fills down into this tub here, and then from that tub there it goes over into here. That's this line right here. So it comes in right here, around over here, this one comes around over here into this T, and then this splits off into both tubs, and then both tubs over here, they split off into a T, have one line, come back in here, and it comes back into this here. It's the return into this, and then this has a little mini pump down there. It's like a 5 gallon an hour or something. It's a really small one. And it pumps through here. And it goes up through the water cooler here. It's the water cooler. And then from the water cooler back into the reservoir. And because of that pump is so small, I can't really tell if it's circulating. So then I made the return up high right here. So you can see right here, this is the return. This is the out. I made an in and an out right here. And I changed this right here. I just bend it over the hose, and I put a hose clamp on there just to close that off. Jeez, you can't see with the flashlight being so bright like that. So I closed one off, and then I added it up here instead. And the purpose of that is so I can see the circulation. So I absolutely know that it's working. And there it comes out on top. There, that's a good shot of it. So everything fills faster than it drains. So I got this thing off the ground here, 4 inches. So it's 4 inches higher than everybody. So that gives me the playroom that I need on the top here of the tub, so that this can fill faster than it drains and it won't overflow. And if you switch it around and do it the other way and put the pump in here and pump it into the tent, then you're going to have some overflow issues, possibly. You know, this gives you more free play to raise the tub up and use this big tub to have a bunch of top clearance here. You know, it would take about an extra 10 gallons here before it started to overflow. And down in there is my meters for this. And I also have a sponge filter. This is new here. I've never done this before, but sometimes in the water you get those floaties and stuff, and clay dust and whatnot. So this is just a sponge, and I put some things on the bottom there, some extra sockets that I had, to weigh it down, so it's bottom heavy there, and it sinks to the bottom and it bubbles up, and it just slowly kind of filters out the chunks and dust out of the water. I don't think that's going to affect the fertilizer. I don't think it's going to collect all the, the fertilizer, so it doesn't feed the plants. I just think it's going to collect the thick chunks, and it also holds in nutrients and whatnot, or not like bacteria, beneficial bacteria. So So anyway, these are the new babies. They just came out of the cloner. I had about 4, 5, 6 of them in there, and these are the best 2. And I'm gonna give the other 4 away to my neighbors. I gave my old Hydro setup away, and he's getting some clones with it. Got some blueberries in here. They're not looking so good. They did 1 day out in the sun and they all turned pink. They burned up. The strawberries down there, that's a different sort of a blueberry there. And dewberry right here. I think it's turning purple because it went out in the sun too. And the older leaves got burned up, and then the newer leaves are looking better. But that's the start of it. Day 1. I'll keep you informed.